Hey everybody, welcome back. This is Elite After, back with a brand new video. Today's going to be interesting. If you're here for the first time, you're visiting my channel. If you don't know who I am, my name is Elite After. I'm a financial strategist, particularly in the areas of personal credit and business wealth management. So I do help businesses raise capital, individuals raise capital, and fix their credit. So if you're here, like I said, for the first time, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Turn the notifications on, so every time there's a brand new video like this, you'd be first to be notified. Today's subject is going to be interesting, and that is the reason as to why, I've spent a lot of time in the past few days putting things together in terms of context to be able to explain to you the significance of today's topic as well as what you're going to be learning. Interestingly enough, a lot of individuals will agree with me that, credit repair is not the easiest thing to do. There's a lot of misleading information out there. People are trying to do it themselves and they're not successful, and what ends up happening is when they're coming to a credit repair company, on the first or second attempt, when they don't see the results, what's going to happen is they're upset and then they move away to hop onto another company, and they just have that mindset rolling around in hopes of success and in hopes that, they can get some outcomes hopefully soon, right? So the goal here today is to educate you and provide you with enough information so that you can walk away confidently in terms of, knowing how to fix your own credit if you want to take matters into your own hand. Now, I do not encourage this because it is a very prolonging journey. There's a lot of compliance issues that is happening right now, particularly with the Equifax breach and certain things that you need to be aware of. In addition to that, all the stress and being able to handle all the additional layers of work that you'll need to do to handle individual items and accounts, and particularly if you have public records and dealing with the banking system and then the public record courts. So it is a very, very enduring process. Now, I'm not discouraging you from doing it. I'm saying it is not recommended. However, if you feel that you want to do it yourself, then by all means you can. But it's important that if you do want to do that, that you have all the right information and all the right tools so that you can do it successfully. And that's what I'm going to be doing in this video today for you. Have some patience with me. I encourage you to have a pen and paper to write some notes down as I'm giving you information. I do also encourage you to basically, if you want, you can click on that watch list later if you have other things to do, if you're distracted. But by all means, I encourage you to put away all the distractions you have today, because the content that I'm about to share with you is incredibly powerful. And it's not about, giving you things or a pitch to work with us or, buy our product or service. I'm not that kind of individual. You see, my whole channel is based on education first and value. So whatever it is that I'm trying to do for you today in terms of, helping you repair your own credit, doing it yourself, it's important that you need to be aware of. So by this means, what I mean to do is to make sure that you're informed, provide you all the right context in terms of where to go, what to do, and how to do it, as well as, the timelines it can take possibly. It can take a few months, it can take, a couple of days or a couple of weeks. We don't know that because the outcome, like I said, is not within our control. So today's goal is to really give you what we call realistic expectations, setting the grounds for that, giving you the right information that you'll need. Hopefully you're writing some notes down. I'll give you information that is pertaining to either credit bureaus, security references, as well as things like individual accounts or creditors or even collection agencies. So with that all said and done, I hope you're ready to take some notes down. I hope you're ready to learn. This will be a very lengthy video. Normally my videos are within 5 to 10 minutes, but if I do go over that, don't mind, because that is value that you're getting, and at the end of the day you need this information if you're going to be pursuing credit repair on your own, if you're going to be pursuing credit repair and taking things and matters into your own hands. And that is why we're doing this. So the first and foremost, I think what you need to really understand is, what are you looking to fix, right? So credit repair consists of many different things. So the first thing we need to understand is exactly why do you need to fix your credit? What exactly are you trying to obtain? What's your goal? What type of outcomes are you expecting, and why are you expecting those outcomes in the first place, right? So if you're saying that, hey, look, Ellie, I want to do credit repair and I want to fix my credit in 10 days, that's not realistic. So I cannot help you with that. But if you say that, look, I want to do credit repair, I know that it's going to take a little bit of time, but I want to learn to do it the right way. And the reason I want to do it, first of all, is because I want to move into a home. It's because I found a great property. I couldn't qualify for a mortgage because certain things with my score, particularly the history I don't have, and of course, other issues potentially, hypothetically speaking. So if that's the case, if that's the reason as to why you're here watching this video, or simply you're fed up of just having other people handle your credit reports, then definitely this is the right video for you. And again, it is going to be a little bit lengthy, but at the end of the day, you are getting great value from this. And I want you to stick around until the very end, where I will give you resources and information that you can go to look at, to basically learn more, and of course continue on, hopefully making a successful credit repair attempt on your own. And if not, like I said, we're always here, bestcreditresources.com. This is what we do, regular videos up in this channel. You can visit us on a weekly basis on Saturday morning. If you're on the West Coast, it's around 10 o'clock on your time. If you're on the East, it's at 1 o'clock Eastern PM. We do this thing called Finance Talk. So in Finance Talk, we educate you, we provide you great content, we bring weekly information that you can take away that will benefit your financial circumstances and help you increase your financial confidence. So again, participate in that. It's every week. Once again, it's 10 o'clock Pacific in the morning every Saturday. If you're on the East Coast, it's 1 p.m. in the afternoon. This is called Finance Talk. So I encourage you to subscribe to my channel and participate when that happens. Now, moving on to the subject of credit repair. We talked about, like, what is your goal? What is it that you're trying to achieve? What do you want out of it? And if you're saying, look, Ali, I want a mortgage, that's definitely one of the biggest reasons why a lot of individuals will come and understand why they need to do credit repair, because that is basically the underlying reason to obtain financing. That is the underlying reason why they will have to go ahead and put all the cards on the table and say, look, this is one of the things that are lacking, and I need to improve this so that I can get into a property, so that I can get into a home. Now, with that being said, there's a lot of different ways of going about fixing that credit, particularly in a real estate scenario. Today, we're going to talk about removing negative items. We're going to talk about fixing your personal identifiers. I talked about this in a couple of videos already. We're going to talk about looking at late payments and how to adjust it, hopefully, as well as any other derogatories, whether it be collection charge-offs, of course, public records. They're a little bit complicated, but they nonetheless still have to be taken care of. So with that said, the first step, like I said, would be looking at personal identifiers. So let's look at this together, right? So the first thing you need to do is you need to obtain a credit report. So where do you get your credit reports? Now, a lot of people will say, well, go to annualcreditreport.com. They give you a free report every 12 months. You do qualify, so go ahead and get a copy of that. What you want is the most up-to-date credit report and the most accurate one based on whatever's reporting. So what I mean by accurate is not that some of the items there are not accurate in your standard. What I mean by accurate is they have all the complete information to review and to analyze and to see what's going to be taking it care of, right? So, whether it be directly getting through the bureaus, Equifax, TransUnion, or Experian, or even going to annualcreditreport.com, getting that free report will help you, because that is a very thorough report. It has all the details that you need to look at and analyze in order to move forward with your credit repair journey. So I want you to go do that, annualcreditreport.com, download a free copy. And by the way, for those watching, there is resources below this video in the description, so feel free to look through that and, of course, click through and go to where the links are in order to get those credit reports for yourself. There's also Credit Check Total. Credit Check Total is definitely one of the more popular ones. The unfortunate thing about Credit Check Total, though, is there's a lot of personal information that's not accurate, in terms of personal identifiers, but they can still be utilized. We can still tackle them on a case-by-case scenario, but I'd still encourage that because they are very, very thorough as well. There's also ScoreSense.com. There's Identity IQ, Privacy Guard, all these areas, right? But whatever it is that you have, just make sure that it is accurate and has the complete information. I'm not affiliated with any of those companies. I don't make money with any of them. I'm not encouraged to or solicit them or whatever it is. So that is on you in terms of what you choose, what kind of credit reports you choose. I choose not to be biased. But hopefully whatever you are getting is complete enough as to analyzing and all the information that's necessary for you to continue your journey with credit repair. So the second thing is, once you have your personal identifiers, you want to look at exactly what are some of the extras. For example, if you have 30 names, you got to have only one name on your credit report. If you have 20 different addresses, you got to have only one address in your credit report. Your social security numbers and the variations of your date of births and all that kind of stuff. Your first names, last names, middle initials. All these type of things need to be taken care of. And one of the biggest things you'll notice is a lot of credit reports are mixed. So you'll have something that's, let's say 4 different names in Experian, and then on TransUnion you have like 6 different names, and in Equifax you might have only like 3. So the biggest thing you need to understand is whenever you are handling those type of personal identifiers, you got to do it on a very separate note. So if you're doing things with Experian, you got to separate that and segregate it and put it in a different stockpile and say, look, I'm going to tackle that separately. The second thing you want to do is you want to look at Equifax, create a whole separate dispute set for that, and challenge those information. And then of course the third one is going to be TransUnion. Whatever information you get, like I said, pertaining to TransUnion's report, put it aside and have it separate. So the reason you want to take care of personal identifiers is because they all have strings attached to a negative item or derogatory item that may be potentially affecting your score. So of course, let's give you an example. So let's say you had a charge off with, let's say, Chase, and that's like $40,000 charge off. It's a huge one. Just giving you a metaphorical example. Hypothetically speaking, maybe that's happening or not. I don't know. I'm just giving an example, okay? So with the $40,000 charge-off from Chase, for example, what we would have is a charge-off with a balance there, right? And unfortunately, a lot of times when it's reported as a charge-off, it is inaccurate. You still want to make sure that you analyze your report very thoroughly to make sure it's very detailed. The complete information is there, even if it's not, completely accurate. You want to make sure no items are missing, like terms and all that kind of stuff. So you look at the charge-off, and you want to make sure that, if you look at the personal identifiers, whether it be Experian, TransUnion, or Equifax, the information related to that particular charge-off is not somehow affiliated with one of those names or addresses or phone numbers that you have on file. So having to remove the personal identifiers does help clean up the process of credit repair. It helps enhance it and makes it more streamlined in terms of efficiency. Of course, you won't get the great outcomes right away, but it does help a lot. So I would encourage you to do that. So once you get that done, you analyze that, you make sure the accounts are affiliated with that. You want to take off all the information that's not relevant to you anymore. If you have an old address or a couple of old addresses, you want to take care of that right away. And of course, a couple other things. So with that said, continue doing that until you have everything that's on the personal identifier side cleaned up. Don't even think about handling derogatory items right before you clean that up. That's the first thing you should do. Even if it takes an extra 30 days, that's the first thing you should do. Because once you take care of that, once you clean that up and have more specific information that's pertaining to you currently, then from that perspective, now we can start tackling the derogatory items, the late payments, the charge-offs, the collections, medical collections, student loans, whatever it is that you have to do right after that point. So with that said, I want you to think about that. I want you to understand that personal identifiers are a very big factor when it comes to cleaning up your credit. Now, here's the truth. Sometimes what happens is when you're tackling a personal identifier, your score can go up anywhere between 25 to 100 points, surprisingly, right? A lot of people don't know this. I'm not guaranteeing the results, I never do, but I'm just giving you an example of what can be possible. So you want to look into that. Once you have taken care of your personal identifiers, when you have one name, one address, one SSN, one phone number, then you go ahead, and I'm talking about across all three bureaus, right? They correlate, they share information among each other on a very frequent basis. So you want to make sure that they correlate. All the information is corresponding and they look exactly the same across all three. Once you have that, once you've taken care of your personal identifiers, then we're talking about late payments or even inquiries. Inquiries are very tricky. Now, a lot of people try to do it through some section 603 or whatever it is, and then they send it up to the credit reporting agencies. Now, once they receive that information, they can say, well, inquiries are a factual record of people looking into or whatever it is, right? In fact, inquiries are based on, like I said, 4 different categories. Number one, it's got to be a firm offer of credit, right? If you got an inquiry from, let's say, applying for a Chase Freedom or whatever, and you got that card, it's a valid inquiry. But if you didn't get it, right? If you didn't get a card, if you didn't get approved, that inquiry should no longer be on your report because it is not a permissible purpose within the 4 categories. One of them is a firm offer of credit, which just I explained. The other one is an insurance. If you're applying for insurance, they have the right to pull your credit report. The third is an offer of employment. If you consent in writing that the employer can pull your credit report to verify information, then that is a permissible purpose. And the last one is a court order. If a court order is issued against you, and they can pull that credit report. So those are the 4 areas of permissible purposes. If a company doesn't qualify or doesn't fall within those 4 categories, then you can easily dispute that information. Then you can easily challenge it and saying, look, it is non-compliant to the FCRA based on permissible purposes. And the reason as to why, it's because I never got a firm offer from them or any of the reasons below. So you can actually challenge that. And in most cases, they will come off. So that's one thing I want to tell you. Another thing is, if you're doing inquiries, I want you to also send the letters to specific creditors that actually pulled your credit report and had a hard pull on your credit report. So, don't just rely on the credit bureaus, because the credit bureaus, yes, they will open a challenge or dispute and communicate with the creditors, but in most specific cases, and a lot of people, and I'm sure you're aware of this, and probably have been part of this somehow, is that the credit reporting agency sends you back a letter stating that these are factual records. You'll have to communicate with the creditors directly, right? So to avoid that, you do one to the credit reporting agencies, and then you do another one to the creditors themselves, so those people who have pulled your credit report or have pulled a hard inquiry on your report. Okay, so that's the thing you want to do. So inquiries are the next step. So like I said, we're going back. We took care of personal identifiers, the thing that we want to get rid of, the first thing. After all that's taken care of, everything's streamlined and it's linear across the board in terms of all three bureaus with the same name, same address, all that information. Next is the inquiries. And I said that you have to send a letter stating that, if the categories of the four, if they don't meet any of that in terms of permissible purpose, then they're not qualified to have an inquiry on your report and they cannot report. And what are those four categories? Let's go over them again. The first one is it's got to be a firm offer of credit, right? So from an inquiry, if you have an account that's open, that's a valid offer. The second one is insurance. Insurance companies are allowed to put credit. Third is an employer, but an employer has to have consent in writing that they're able to pull your credit. You have to permit that, and of course that would be valid. The fourth one is a court order. So a court can actually put a summons and put something against you and say that you're allowed to put the credit or pull the credit report from that individual. So that would be a hard inquiry. Those are the four areas of permissible purposes. Anything else below that doesn't qualify for an inquiry. So you can actually challenge it based on those circumstances. So that's what we did. Now we're going to talk about late payments. Late payments is a very tricky area, right? A lot of individuals will say, well, Ali, I want to get rid of my late payments and I just opened this account. If you open this account in let's say 6 months and you want to dispute late payments, the possibility of it being adjusted to paid as agreed or open and paid is very difficult. The reason why I say that is because you need to have some sort of reporting history, right? You need to have congruence, like in terms of information that's being reported. Now a lot of individuals will get lucky, when they'll dispute, they'll get that late payment adjustment, whatever it is. Sometimes the best thing is to give your creditor a call, and if it's just one late payment out of the 6 months, which is 5 good payment history in one, they may actually offer you, let's say, a goodwill adjustment or a default to cure that late payment, to remove it from the report. But in most cases they won't, especially if you're new. So if your history is good with them, let's say if you've been around for 2 to 3 years and you have never been late, the possibility of them working with you on those circumstances is very high, in contrast to you having a new account, freshly established, it's just been a few months, and you're trying to negotiate your way. It's going to be very difficult. So a lot of individuals, what they do is they actually send to credit reporting agencies. Part of the dispute is, look, this is not accurate, it's got to be paid as agreed or whatever, and then sometimes they succeed. Now, if ever something happens and the creditor's challenging that, then you cannot lie, right? So my suggestion is, if you're new, adjust that by just paying it down. Just make sure that it's not going to happen again, and wait until it reports positively again in a couple of weeks to maybe a month or two. The third thing I'd say is, if it's not, if it's something urgent, that's a very big factor in terms of applying for credit. You're in an urgent situation. What we call is a rapid rescore. A rapid rescore is adjusting your credit based on up-to-date payment history. What you got to do is you got to go to a mortgage broker or lender who qualifies for that, who can do this based on compliant Metro 2 standards. What I mean by that is, they can actually go ahead and submit a request to adjust the payment history immediately based on documented proof, meaning that you actually paid, you have the evidence that you paid, the account statement's up to date, the financial institution that you're with has given you a letter indicating that you are up to date or something of that nature. Then that's going to be something that you can do. It's a rapid rescore. It takes anywhere between 24 to 72 hours. It can be done really quickly, and that's a good way of going. One of the things you need to know about rapid rescore, if you're here in this video, is the company that's offering the loan or mortgage, or the mortgage broker, by law is not allowed to charge you for that. Okay, so if ever you go ahead and you try to do a rapid rescore and they're charging you for it, it's illegal. Just a heads up. Okay. So, but of course, you have to have a valid reason as to why you want to do that. And if you know that you're going to be doing business with that particular company or individual or mortgage company, then all the more reasons for them to help you. So, that's something. I don't know if the law's been updated, but as far as I'm concerned, up to this date, I know that it's illegal for them to charge you for a rapid rescore, specifically when it's related to a mortgage file. So that's up to late payments right now, and then the next step we're going to move on to is any other derogatory items. Now, we talked about personal identifiers, we talked about inquiries, late payments. Now let's say if you have a collection account. How do you get rid of a collection account? So with collections, it's a bit tricky, right? You need to make sure that you have the letters. You may got to make sure that they actually sent you validation through email. They got to have to send you a notice that they're reporting on your bureau within 5 days of that negative being reported, or even 15 days. They also got to make sure that the information that's reported is accurate. They got to supply you with paperwork demonstrating that they actually verified this account and that the amount that's being displayed for collection activity is actually valid and accurate and timely. So there's a couple of things that you can work with collection agencies for. Now I know a lot of individuals out there, they get phone calls on a regular basis harassing them, getting harassed from the collection side saying, look, you got to pay this, you got to do it the right way. we're gonna report you, we're gonna keep you there, we're gonna issue a judgment, all that kind of stuff. It's illegal. A lot of these tactics are illegal, of course, but end result is all you got to do is pick up the phone and say, look, whatever it is that you want or whatever you're claiming that I owe, I need you to send me everything in writing, and I want you to cease and desist communication in terms of over the phone or anything of that nature. And in most cases, they will respect your wishes and they will send you everything in writing. Unfortunately, though, even though that happens, you still have to address the reporting side. So you got to make sure that you communicate with the collection agencies, make sure that they provide you with enough validation of that debt. If they haven't, so basically write them a letter. You have their information on the credit report, their addresses, who they are. Send them a letter and say, look, you haven't sent me any information in reference to that. I'm waiting. Here's the information I need. Debt validations are all over the internet. You can actually browse on Google and say debt validation letter template, and you'll probably get a free one. So make sure you do that. You look at that. You send them the debt validation. Collections can take anywhere between 30 to 60 days, from validation point. Sometimes they'll stand your report because that debt is particularly valid. But another thing is, like, if it's not reported properly, then you can obviously challenge that and tackle it that way. So that's something that I encourage you to look at and do, specifically in that circumstance. So with that said, there's a couple of other things that we're going to talk about. So we talked about, personal identifiers, we talked about inquiries, we talked about late payments, we talked about derogatories like a collection account. Charge-offs, situation is the same. You got to look into the creditor. You got to make sure the information is reported accurately. In most cases, if it's a charge-off, that means another collection agency is picking it up. What you want to do is you want to emphasize a lot on the collection activities. And the reason why is because if there's a charge-off that's there from another company and the collection agency is able to pull your credit and see that information, and then like, hey, look, we deal with that company too, and then they can actually pick up the collection activity on that company as well. So you got to be careful. The first thing you want to do is the priority is to remove those collection accounts in terms of the derogatory information as part of the whole sequence of doing credit and fixing your credit yourself. So just keep a note of that. It's very important. A lot of people don't know this, and of course they're uninformed, and that is why they keep collection accounts still there. Maybe they don't do it on purpose. It's just they don't know how to go about handling it the right way. But I'm just giving you an open statement in reference to, you got to be careful with that kind of stuff because that can hurt your credit so bad. And you got to be able to tackle that ASAP. Okay, so that's it. So with that information, when it comes to public records, that's probably the next thing you want to look at. Public records, a lot of people will say, well, LexisNexis pulls all that information. You have SageStream, ID Analytics, all these individuals and agencies, third-party reporting agencies are the ones who are furnishing the data to the credit reporting agencies. Now, where do these companies pick up the data? Well, of course, they are legal aggregators. They have a collection of accounts, put together, pull through for an individual, and then regularly submitted to the credit reports on the court's behalfs or the legal entities' behalfs. So that's a very big problem. So you want to make sure that before you look at public records, the first thing you want to do is, okay, where is this record coming from? You got to ask LexisNexis for a report, SageStream for a report, ID Analytics. There's a couple other ones, like we talked about this in one of my videos on Finance Talk. I'm going to leave the link down below so you can actually look at that and go through it. But first you got to pull that information. You got to pull it from the source that's actually providing the data to the credit reporting agencies, and from that perspective, then you go ahead and say, look, you can either freeze it or you can continue challenging that, and it's a long process. It's not going to take you 30 days. Sometimes it can take you 2-3 months to get rid of some public records, but it's part of the process of doing credit repair. So that's it. That's all it is to credit repair. You got to continuously do it. It's a question of consistency. It's a question of continuing to do activity that's necessary for you to get the outcome you're looking for. Be realistic. If you're looking for a mortgage, it's not going to happen overnight, especially if your credit's not the right place. You got to make sure that you're continuously working on your credit. Apply for new trade lines. There's a video I'm going to post below this video that talks about trade lines and where to get them. They're brand new. They help you increase your score, but at the same time help you season it as you're fixing your credit simultaneously, so that over time you have some sort of history to demonstrate to the lenders that you're going with, and of course on your journey to establishing pretty good credit. Okay, so this was a video that's about 25 minutes long. I appreciate you sticking around. Hopefully you wrote some notes down. Again, descriptions below this video to help you with all the steps that I described. If you have any questions, talk@bestcreditresources.com is the best way to reach me. I will answer them. If not, then on an email, then definitely on a video, particularly in the finance talks that we do. So this is Ali Tarafto, your guide and mentor. Thanks for being here today. Bye for now.